They say America is built on restless ground. Every town, every city, every lonely stretch of highway has its secrets. And sometimes those secrets refuse to stay buried. Tonight, we're traveling across the country, but not to visit landmarks or tourist attractions. No, we're checking into hotels where the walls whisper, where the air feels heavy, and where guests sometimes leave with more than just memories. Welcome to the haunted hotels of the United States. The first stop is nestled in the Colorado Rockies, surrounded by pine trees and an unsettling silence that only deepens when the sun goes down. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park is beautiful, grand, even romantic at first glance. But step inside, and you'll feel it. The way the hallways echo a little too long, the way cold air lingers even when every window is shut. Guests have reported hearing music in the dead of night, faint piano notes drifting from the ballroom. Even when the room is completely empty, others claim to hear children laughing and running in the halls, though no children are ever seen. The fourth floor in particular is infamous. Entire wedding parties have booked rooms there, only to leave after a single night, shaken and pale, whispering about ghostly footsteps pacing back and forth outside their doors. And then there's room 217, a chamber so notorious that even those who don't believe in the supernatural often avoid it. Many say the spirit of a former housekeeper lingers there, watching over the room she once kept. Guests wake to the sound of doors opening, lights flickering, or blankets being gently tucked around them. An eerie, protective gesture from someone who is no longer alive. From Colorado, we drift south to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, where the Crescent Hotel rises like a Gothic sentinel on the hillside. Built in the 1800s, its walls have held many lives and many deaths. Locals call it America's most haunted hotel. And when you hear the stories, it's not hard to understand why. The basement once served as a makeshift hospital under the control of a man who called himself a doctor, though history remembers him as a fraud. Patients came here seeking cures, but what they found instead was despair, experiments, and an early grave. Some say the spirits of those patients still wander the corridors, confused, searching for a way out. Guests describe apparitions in the hallways. A man in a long white coat, standing silently at the end of the corridor, before vanishing into the shadows. Others tell of a nurse pushing a gurney late at night, the squeak of its wheels echoing in the silence, even though the hospital closed decades ago. In room 218, there is another story, a tragic one. A construction worker fell to his death while building the hotel, and his spirit has never left. Guests staying there report heavy footsteps, doors slamming on their own, and sudden bursts of cold air. Some have even said they felt an unseen hand shove them while they slept. Next, we cross the country to the coast of California, where the ocean holds its own haunted relic, the Queen Mary. Though technically a ship, it has spent far longer as a hotel than it ever did sailing the seas. But the spirits that haunt it, they never disembarked. Walking through its corridors feels like stepping back in time. The Art Deco style, the polished brass, the velvet drapes, all of it preserved, frozen. Yet behind that elegance lies a sinister undercurrent. One of the most haunted areas is the ship's engine room. Guests and staff alike have reported hearing the metallic clang of machinery, the hiss of steam, and even screams echoing from deep within. Some say they've seen a man in overalls appear and vanish near door 13, a watertight door that once crushed a crew member to death during a drill. And then there's the pool. It has long since been drained, but many swear they hear splashing, laughter, and the playful voices of children who are not there. Others describe a woman in a bathing suit, dripping wet, walking toward them before dissolving into mist. The Queen Mary carries her history like a shroud. Wartime service, tragic accidents, endless lives passing through. And every echo, every shadow, every sudden chill reminds guests that some journeys never truly end. These hotels are beautiful, yes, grand, historic, unforgettable. But beauty can be deceiving. Behind the chandeliers, the velvet carpets, and the polished wood lies something darker. Something that lingers. Something that waits. And as you drift off to sleep in a strange hotel room, listening to the hum of the air conditioner and the muffled footsteps in the hallway, ask yourself, are you really alone? Because sometimes the room you booked already belongs to someone else. On the shimmering coastline of San Diego, the Hotel del Coronado rises like a fairy tale castle, its red rooftops sharp against the endless blue of the Pacific. By day, it looks idyllic, almost too perfect to hide anything sinister. But at night, when the waves crash against the shore and the corridors grow silent, a different story unfolds. One of the hotel's most enduring legends is the Lady in Black. She is said to wander the hallways, her presence chilling the air wherever she goes. Guests describe seeing a shadowy figure standing at the foot of their bed, only for her to vanish the moment the lights flick on. Others feel her in the stairwells, an icy hand grazing their arm, a sudden perfume of lavender where no one else stands. But the most tragic tale belongs to a woman named Kate Morgan. In 1892, she checked into the hotel alone, waiting for someone who never came. Days later, she was found dead on the steps near the beach, a bullet wound in her head. The official story called it suicide, but rumors of foul play have never faded. To this day, her room remains the most requested and the most feared. Guests report flickering lights, doors locking on their own, and the sound of weeping echoing in the night. Many leave before morning, unable to endure the weight of her sorrow. The Dell is stunning, yes, but beauty and tragedy often walk hand in hand. High in the mountains of Arizona, in the old mining town of Jerome, stands a massive, brooding building, the Jerome Grand Hotel. Its history is steeped in suffering. Once a hospital during the mining boom, it saw countless injuries, deaths, and silent farewells. When it closed in the 1950s, the structure was left abandoned, its halls echoing with memories no one wanted to revisit. When it was later transformed into a hotel, guests quickly realized that the spirits never left. The most famous ghost here is a maintenance man named Claude, who died in a bizarre elevator accident. He was crushed in the shaft, and now the elevator is said to run on its own, opening on empty floors, descending and ascending without a passenger in sight. Some guests swear they hear his footsteps in the hallways, followed by the faint sound of heavy machinery grinding in the distance. Others report voices crying out in the night, the sound of hospital gurneys rolling across the floor, or even the overwhelming smell of antiseptic, as though the hospital had never closed. Room 32 is perhaps the darkest of all. A man is said to have taken his own life there, and guests who dare to stay whisper of violent dreams, feelings of being watched, and sometimes an unseen force pressing down on their chest as they sleep. Austin, Texas is a city known for music, energy, and vibrant life. But at the heart of downtown stands the Driskill Hotel, an opulent 19th century landmark where time feels twisted and ghosts are said to roam freely. Colonel Jesse Driskill, who built the hotel, is rumored never to have left. Guests have reported smelling the faint aroma of cigar smoke when no one else is around, or catching a glimpse of a tall, imposing figure watching them from the grand staircase. But the most unsettling stories are not of the colonel, but of two little girls. One tale tells of a senator's daughter who tragically fell to her death while chasing a ball down the grand staircase. Guests swear they still see her spirit, blonde hair, delicate dress, giggling in the halls, the sound of a bouncing ball echoing when the hotel grows quiet. Another story involves a young girl who took her own life in room 525. The tragedy repeated itself decades later when another woman ended her life in the very same room, under eerily similar circumstances. Today, room 525 is sealed off, only opened by special request, and those who dare to stay there report flickering lights, sudden cold drafts, and whispers in the darkness that seem to come from right beside their bed. The Driskill is a place of luxury, but also of shadows. Its marble columns and glittering chandeliers cannot hide the sorrow that has seeped into its foundation. In the small town of Sauk Center, Minnesota, stands the Palmer House Hotel, deceptively unassuming from the outside. But among paranormal investigators, it is infamous. They say nearly every room holds a secret. Every hallway carries a whisper. The basement is particularly unsettling. Once used as storage, it now serves as a hotspot of activity. Guests have heard growls coming from the darkness, seen shadows darting across the walls, and even felt their clothing tugged by invisible hands. In the guest rooms, televisions turn on and off by themselves. Doors rattle violently as though someone is trying to force them open, even when the hallway is empty. One guest awoke to find a dark figure sitting at the edge of their bed, silently staring until it dissolved into mist. But the most disturbing reports come from children. Families who stay at the Palmer House often hear their kids talking late at night to someone who isn't there. When asked, the children describe a friendly boy or girl who lives in the hotel and wants to play. Yet adults never see these phantom playmates, only hearing their children laugh and answer unseen voices in the dark. The Palmer House may be small, but its reputation looms large, a reminder that you don't need a grand historic building to attract restless spirits. Sometimes, all it takes is tragedy, memory, and time. Across the country, from California to Minnesota, these hotels share one thing in common. Guests come seeking rest, only to leave with stories that will follow them forever. But there is one last legend, whispered among travelers who hop from hotel to hotel. They say there is a spirit that does not belong to any one building. A shadow, a presence, an unseen traveler who follows those who dare to chase these haunted places. Perhaps you felt it yourself. A strange heaviness in your suitcase when you pack. A faint shadow in the reflection of your hotel window. The feeling that someone has checked in with you, even though you booked the room alone. So be careful, because while the hotel may be haunted, the spirit you meet there might not stay behind when you leave. In the heart of New Orleans, just steps from Jackson Square, stands the Bourbon Orleans Hotel. Today it is known for its elegance, but its past is layered with shadows. Before it became a hotel, the building was once a theater, and later, a convent and orphanage. Within its walls, both joy and sorrow left deep scars. Yellow fever once swept through the city, and countless children perished here, their tiny cries silenced. but never forgotten. Guests today report hearing laughter in the empty hallways, the patter of small feet running across the floor, and the soft sound of children's voices humming lullabies in the dead of night. Some awaken to find indentations on the mattress beside them, as though a child had crawled into bed, though no one is there. The grand ballroom carries its own ghost. Visitors describe the faint swish of a dancer's gown and the distant sound of music. Long after the musicians have packed away their instruments, a solitary figure has been seen spinning across the polished floor, vanishing the instant anyone approaches. New Orleans is a city alive with spirits, but here, within the Bourbon Orleans, their presence feels inescapable. Far to the north, in Milwaukee, stands the Pfister Hotel, luxurious, imposing, and deeply unsettling to those who stay within its rooms. Athletes and performers traveling through the city often stay here, and many have reported strange experiences they cannot explain. Lights flicker on and off without reason. Electronics refuse to work, batteries drain instantly, and televisions change channels on their own. Guests have woken to see a man standing in the corner of their room, only for him to fade into the shadows. Some say this is the ghost of Charles Pfister himself, the hotel's original owner, who still watches over his creation. He is often described as stern, silent, and unblinking, his gaze heavy, his presence suffocating. Baseball players staying at the Pfister have spoken openly about their encounters, admitting they were too terrified to sleep in their rooms. The Pfister hides its unease behind grandeur, but behind every chandelier, every polished surface, lurks a presence that refuses to be ignored. In Portland, Oregon, stands the Heathman Hotel, a place where the strange repeats itself floor after floor. It is not one ghost that terrifies guests, but an entire pattern of hauntings. Guests staying in rooms 703, 803, and 1003 report the same experiences: cold drafts, sudden bangs against the wall, and the chilling sensation of being watched. Investigators believe this is because these rooms align vertically, as though the haunting stretches straight down through the building like a scar. One woman reported waking to see a figure standing at the foot of her bed, its face obscured, its body trembling before disappearing. Another guest swore he heard someone breathing heavily right beside him, though the room was empty. Most unsettling are the reports of being touched, hair stroked, sheets tugged, a cold hand brushing against skin. Guests leave shaken, some refusing ever to return. The Heathman does not boast of its spirits, but those who stay there leave with stories that ripple outward, adding to the hotel's quiet, sinister reputation. In Oklahoma City, the Skirvin Hotel stands tall, restored to elegance, but its past is marred by tragedy, and its stories are whispered with unease. The most famous legend tells of Effie, a maid who, according to rumor, became involved with the hotel's owner. Isolated, distraught, and trapped on an upper floor, she leapt to her death with her infant child. Some say her sorrow echoes through the halls. Guests have reported hearing the cries of a baby in the dead of night, the sound piercing and heartbreaking. Others claim to see a woman in early 1900s attire, wandering the hallways with a desperate expression. She sometimes appears in men's rooms, whispering faintly before vanishing into thin air. Even hardened NBA players staying at the Skirvin during away games have spoken of sleepless nights filled with strange sounds, flickering lights, and the oppressive weight of a presence that never leaves them alone. The Skirvin wears its luxury like armor, but beneath that polished surface lies a story of heartbreak, forever replaying itself behind closed doors. We fear need from the French Quarter to the Pacific Northwest, from Oklahoma's sorrow to Wisconsin's shadows. Each hotel is different, each legend unique, yet they all share something chilling. Once tragedy takes root, it never leaves. The walls remember, the floors carry echoes, the air itself thickens with grief until it shapes into something more than memory, something that breathes. And so, as you check into your next hotel, whether grand or modest, pause for a moment. Listen. The hum of the air conditioning, the shuffle of footsteps outside your door, the creak of pipes. Are they simply the sounds of an old building? Or are they the echoes of something that has been waiting for you? Because every haunted hotel has one guest who never checked out. In the heart of Chicago, the Congress Plaza Hotel stands tall, its facade unassuming, yet the stories it holds are anything but ordinary. Built over a century ago, the hotel has witnessed riots, political upheaval, and countless tragedies. Some believe that the very soul of the city seeps into its walls. Guests report the sensation of being watched in hallways where no one walks. Mirrors reflect figures that vanish when approached. The most infamous legend involves a man who jumped from a high window in the 1920s, landing in the street below. Witnesses claim his spirit wanders the upper floors, pacing the halls silently, a shadow in the corner of your eye, always just out of reach. Staff sometimes refuse to work alone at night, citing doors opening and closing by themselves, whispers in empty corridors, and the faint sound of music echoing from the grand ballroom, where no band has played in decades. Traveling south to Galveston, the Hotel Galvez rises like a beacon from the Gulf Coast. Its elegant, whitewashed walls hide stories of storm, shipwreck, and sorrow. During the 1900s, guests reported sightings of a woman in a long, flowing dress wandering the hallways, known as the White Lady. Some say she lost her husband to the sea, and her grief keeps her tied to the hotel. Visitors feel sudden drops in temperature when she appears, and many claim to have heard her soft sobbing drifting through the corridors late at night. One of the most unsettling reports comes from room 501. Guests staying there have woken to find all their personal belongings moved, beds unmade, and the room icy cold, as though an invisible presence had spent the night with them. The Galvez seems to welcome visitors with warmth by day and sorrow by night, reminding us that not all ghosts are angry. Some are merely trapped in endless mourning. High in the Nevada desert, the Mizpah Hotel in Tonopah looms over the dusty town like a sentinel from another era. Its history is riddled with gold fever, gambling, and a fair share of death. Guests often speak of hearing laughter in empty bars, the clinking of poker chips, and the footsteps of long-dead miners echoing through the halls. The fifth floor is particularly active. Rooms 502 and 503 have long been associated with sightings of shadowy figures and mysterious sounds that drive some visitors to flee before dawn. One story tells of a miner who disappeared mysteriously, only to appear months later, wandering the hallways in tattered clothing. Some claim he silently follows guests, vanishing when confronted. Others report the faint smell of smoke and dust, even though the building has been modernized. The Mizpah seems to exist in two times at once, the present and the past, trapping those who enter in a delicate, chilling limbo. In the bustling streets of Manhattan, the Algonquin Hotel hides its secrets behind sophistication and charm. Once home to writers, artists, and actors, It now hosts guests who rarely notice the whispers lurking in the corners. The most famous resident spirit is known as the Vicious Dog, named after a journalist who once lived here and allegedly met an untimely, mysterious end. Guests report chairs moving on their own, doors slamming, and disembodied footsteps following them across the polished floors. Some say the ghost is playful, others say vengeful. Witnesses have felt their hair pulled, pens thrown, or cold hands resting lightly on their shoulders. The Algonquin thrives on its legacy, both literary and supernatural, and those who stay here are reminded that creativity sometimes leaves behind a shadow that refuses to fade. From Chicago to Galveston, from Nevada deserts to Manhattan streets, these haunted hotels share one truth: the past never truly leaves. The memories of tragedy, of loss, of despair, they linger, like smoke caught in old walls, waiting for the next visitor to feel their weight. As you lay down in your hotel bed tonight, imagine the rooms we have walked through together. The silent footsteps, the cold drafts, the whispers in the dark. Perhaps you will hear them too. Perhaps you will feel a presence brush against your hand. And if you do, remember this: ghosts are patient. They wait. They follow. And sometimes the most haunted guest is not the one who stays in the room, but the one who leaves with the story. Because in every hotel across the United States, some doors never close, and some travelers never really check out. The question is, when you leave your next hotel, will someone or something leave with you?